They laughed, oh how they laughed. When I screamed into the void, they called it noise. When I warned of the fire, they played in the smoke. And when I pointed at the cracks in their sky, they said I was insane. But madness is just a name they give to the ones who see too much, too soon, too clearly. I wasn't born with fury in my veins. They poured it into me, drop by drop, lie by lie. They told me to smile, to keep my head down, to nod when the world made no sense, to obey even when the silence was screaming. And I did, for a while. But have you ever felt something coming? Not seen, not heard, just felt, like a shadow standing behind your shadow, a storm rumbling behind the horizon, something waiting, something no one else will look at. But you can't look away. That was me. The walls were cracking, the masks were slipping, the sky was dimming, and I told them the system was hollow, that the kings were cowards, that the peace they praised was the calm before the fire. But they didn't want truth, they wanted comfort. They wanted soft words to lull them back to sleep. So when I roared, they called it madness. When I bled, they said it was performance. And when I refused to kneel, they laughed. Not out of humor, out of fear. Because deep down, they knew. They knew the dam was breaking. They just didn't want me to be the one who said it first, so they buried me under mockery, painted me with madness, drowned my name in ridicule. They said, "Don't listen to him, he's unstable. He's too intense. He's lost touch with reality." But tell me, what reality were they clinging to? The one where justice is bought with gold, where the loudest liars become kings, where everyone smiles with cracked teeth and broken spines. They call it society. I call it a house of mirrors, beautiful from a distance, until you look too close. I wasn't the villain. I was the warning, the flare in the dark, the scream in the silence. But they mocked it, laughed at it, ignored it, and now they choke on the smoke I warned them about. Now the streets echo with the silence of their disbelief. Now the very world they built is collapsing. Just like I said it would. They laughed at the storm, right before it swallowed them whole. And me, I'm still standing, I'm still breathing. I'm still watching as the laughter dies. One cough, one scream, one shattered illusion at a time. They called me mad, but madness didn't destroy the world. Denial did. And now the world listens. Too late. They wanted me quiet, palatable, powerless, so they gave me a mask and told me to smile. Smile while they clipped my wings. Smile while they stuffed my voice into a coffin. Smile while they carved away everything that made me, me. Because the truth is, I was never too much. They were just too small. They couldn't handle my voice, so they handed me silence. They couldn't handle my fire, so they drowned me in politeness. Be nice. Be normal. Be like us. Their words were knives wrapped in compliments, sweet poison, fed with a spoonful of approval. And I took it. I swallowed it whole. Because back then, I still thought I had to belong to survive. I still thought if I shrunk myself enough, maybe they'd finally let me breathe. Maybe they'd finally say, "Now you're good enough." So I played along. I became the version of me that didn't make them uncomfortable. Not too loud, not too proud, never too honest, never too raw. I laughed at things I hated, apologized for things I never did, bit my tongue so often it forgot how to speak truth without bleeding. Do you know what that does to a person? Do you know what it feels like to look in the mirror and see a stranger smiling back? Not out of joy, but out of compliance. Not a smile of peace, but a smile of surrender. I wore that mask so long, it started growing roots. It didn't just cover. It consumed me. But deep inside, something screamed, a voice, raw, unfiltered. The voice I buried just to keep them comfortable. It clawed at the edges of the mask, whispered in the dark, "This isn't who you are. This isn't who you were meant to be." And I tried to silence it. God, I tried, because I was taught that strength was obedience, that love was conditional, that acceptance was a reward for conformity. But the more I obeyed, the more I disappeared. The more I gave in, the more they took. Until one day, There was nothing left to give, just hollow eyes behind a painted grin, a soul screaming beneath the surface, a fire begging to burn. And that's when it happened. I stopped trying to fit in. I stopped trying to make them comfortable. I stopped trying to wear a skin that was never mine, because I realized something powerful. They didn't love me. They loved the version of me that made them feel safe, the one who never challenged them, never scared them, never made them see themselves, so I tore it off. The smile, the silence, the suffocating performance. I ripped it all away, and what they saw underneath terrified them, because it wasn't polite, it wasn't agreeable, it wasn't the version of me they approved of. It was truth, it was rage, it was me uncaged, unfiltered, unapologetic. Let them flinch, let them turn away, let them whisper, "You've changed." Good. That means I finally became someone they couldn't control, and if that makes me the villain in their story, so be it, because I'd rather be hated for my fire than loved for my ashes. I'd rather walk alone in truth than be surrounded by lies and call it family. You see, they wanted me weak, because my strength was a mirror to their cowardice. They wanted me silent, because my voice was an earthquake beneath their fragile egos. They wanted me nice, because my real thoughts would shatter their illusions. But I'm done being their decoration, their puppet, their project. I am not here to be digestible. I am not here to be manageable. I'm here to be real. I'm here to be loud. I'm here to be dangerous. Because when I finally took off the mask, I didn't lose anything. I found everything, and now there's no going back. Let them panic. Let them call me cold. Let them call me crazy. I know what I am now. I am the fire they tried to extinguish, the voice they couldn't erase, the soul they failed to bury. So if you're wearing that mask too, rip it off. Let them see you. Let them fear you. Because the moment you stop pretending to be small, the world will try to cage you, but don't bend, don't break, don't bow. Smile. Not because they told you to, but because you finally know. You were never the problem. They just couldn't handle your truth. I spoke. They silenced. I warned. They punished. Because the truth terrifies those built on lies. They called me dangerous. Not because I raised a fist, but because I opened my mouth. I didn't scream. I whispered. And that whisper cracked their foundations. I didn't come with fire. I came with clarity, and that clarity scorched them. You see, truth isn't welcome in a kingdom of masks. It doesn't blend. It doesn't bow. It burns. I held up the mirror. They shattered it, not because it was broken, but because it showed them who they truly were. I became the reflection they couldn't tolerate, the flaw in their perfect lie, the echo they couldn't mute. And so they did what cowards do. They branded me a threat. They erased my name from their records, ripped my voice from the airwaves, painted me as poison, all because I refused to pretend. Stopped apologizing. And that's when they panicked, because the moment you stop apologizing for your fire, the world starts preparing for the flames. I didn't break their rules. I revealed them. I didn't cause the collapse, I just pointed at the cracks. They had to exile me, silence me, drown me in shadows, because a voice like mine, it doesn't die. It echoes, and echoes are dangerous. They stripped me of titles. They smeared my name in headlines. They turned allies into enemies, friends into traitors. But what they never understood was that exile isn't defeat. It's rebirth. They pushed me to the edge of their world, and I stepped into mine. Alone, yes, but finally unchained. When they took everything, they gave me something far greater. Clarity. The silence they forced upon me, it became my meditation. The darkness they cast me into, it sharpened my vision. I didn't vanish, I evolved, I didn't crawl back begging. I stood alone, unbroken, unapologetic, because there comes a moment when a voice is no longer asking to be heard. It demands to be remembered. They called it treason. I called it truth. They called it madness. I called it waking up. And now they call it too late. They thought exile would end me. They forgot. Some of us are forged in the outskirts. Some of us are sharpened by silence, by betrayal, by the cold shoulder of the world we tried to save. I offered them warnings. They answered with war. I held up a candle. They tried to drown it in gasoline, so now I carry the flame, not to warm them, but to burn everything false to the ground. You become dangerous the moment you stop seeking permission, the moment you realize that being misunderstood isn't a curse, it's a crown. They built their kingdoms on comfort, on denial, on fiction, and I was the crack in their glass palace. They couldn't fix me, so they tried to bury me, but I am not soil. I do not stay underground. I do not rot. I rise. Every silence they forced on me, I've turned into thunder. Every lie, they fed the world. I've turned into a blade. I am not here to be forgiven. I am not here to be welcomed. I am here to be remembered. Let them fear my name. Let them spit it out like poison. Because deep down, they know I was right. I was. Always right, and the truth they feared. It's here now, flooding their cities, cracking their crowns, lighting up the skies they thought they controlled. And while they tremble, while they scramble, while they beg for someone to save them, I will stand, alone, exactly where they left me, but taller, stronger, and far more dangerous than they ever imagined. Because I'm not the villain they made me out to be. I'm the truth they were never ready to face. They thought they built empires, unshakable, unstoppable, eternal. But I saw the rot in their roots. I saw the cracks before they spread. I heard the silence beneath their noise. I felt the weight of everything they tried to hide. They called it progress. I called it poison. And still, they marched on, building monuments out of mirrors, hiding decay beneath marble and gold, smiling through the stench of corruption. I told them the dam was cracking. They painted the cracks gold. I warned them the pillars were hollow. They added lights, cameras, distractions. I screamed while they laughed. I wept while they celebrated. I watched them feed the fire, then act surprised when everything burned. You see, their world was never real. It was a carnival of masks, a circus of puppets, a palace built on sand, one whisper of truth. And it all began to shake, one gust of reality, and the towers started to sway. But still, they danced, drunk on their own lies, blinded by comfort, chained by ego. They crowned liars and buried prophets. They rewarded ignorance and crucified truth. They silenced the bleeding and gave microphones to monsters. And now the stage is collapsing. The curtains are on fire. The audience is screaming. And the actors have forgotten their lines. This is not chaos. This is correction. This is not the end. This is exposure. They mock the storm. Now they drown in the flood. They built kingdoms out of illusion. But illusions don't hold weight. Illusions don't carry the world. Illusions crack under pressure. And pressure is here. The markets are trembling. The politicians are stuttering. The leaders are hiding. And the people, the very people they called small, are starting to remember their power. I told them this would happen. I told them their gods were hollow, their justice blind by design, their peace borrowed from silence, their order paid for in blood. But they didn't listen. They never do. They only hear truth when it starts screaming. And now it's screaming. Now the streets echo with the sound of realization. Now the skies turn red with regret. Now the towers fall one by one, and there's no one left to pray to. The architects of this empire, they're ghosts now. Their blueprints soaked in the blood of the innocent. Their smiles wiped clean by the wind of change. They called me the villain. Now they pray for a monster to save them. They feared the fire. But it's the fire that cleanses. It's the fire that reveals. It's the fire that forgives nothing. I watched them build this world. I watched them bury the broken. I watched them reward cruelty and punish pain. And I waited, not for vengeance, not for validation. I waited on for gravity, because lies can only float for so long, because masks can only hold for so many years, because power stolen always slips through trembling fingers. And now their hands are shaking. Now their crowns are cracking. Now they look up and realize the sky doesn't care about kings. This world they built, it wasn't strong. It was loud. It was decorated. It was tall. but it was never strong. Because strength doesn't come from gold. It comes from grit, from truth, from scars. And they feared all of those things. So they built high, but they built hollow. And when the earth moved, when the wind howled, when the truth whispered, it all came down. The statues fall now, the flags burn, the anthems turn to ash, and somewhere in the smoke, they remember my name, the madman, the outcast, the one they tried to bury, now standing on the graves of their delusions. Let it fall, let it burn, let it crumble into dust and memory, because a world built on sand deserves the ocean, because a kingdom built on silence deserves the scream, because a throne built on bones deserves to break beneath its own weight. They wanted comfort. Now they choke on it. They wanted control. Now they beg for freedom. They wanted to be gods. Now they kneel like mortals. And me, I warned them. I waited. And now, I watch. Not with joy, not with vengeance, but with clarity. Because this was always inevitable. The world they built on sand was never meant to stand. The fire came, the smoke swallowed them, and I walked through it all. They screamed for help when the skies cracked open, but I smiled. Because I'd been waiting for this moment. Waiting for the world to burn, for the illusions to melt, for the masks to fall, for truth to finally be loud enough to drown out their lies. You see, I warned them. Over and over, I warned them. But they laughed, dismissed, mocked. They pointed at the storm in my eyes and called it madness. But now the same storm eats their cities, and suddenly, silence. Suddenly the madman looks like a prophet. Isn't that funny? The ones who called me delusional now beg the wind to spare them. But there's no mercy left in the wind. Only ash, only smoke, and me, still standing. They built their kingdoms on sand and expected the tide to kneel. But the tide was never theirs to command. It was always coming, always rising. I just saw it first. And now, in the thick of this collapse, in the choking black air where no gods come to rescue, I rise. Not because I wanted this chaos, not because I craved destruction, but because I survived it, I adapted to it. While they prayed for peace and I trained in the storm. While they built towers, I became the earthquake. While they clung to comfort, I carved strength from pain. They told me to stay quiet, to stay soft, to stay small. But how do you stay small? When the world tries to crush you with both hands, you either shrink or you sharpen. I sharpened. I bled in silence. I healed in shadows. I grew in the cracks of their perfect system, and now that system is dust. Now the fire they tried to avoid has touched everything, and the ones who built walls of gold, they're choking on smoke like everyone else. But me? I breathe it. I breathe it like it's air, because fire doesn't scare the one who was forged in it. I am not afraid. I was the warning. And now I am the aftermath. They thought I'd break, but I bent. They thought I'd vanish, but I evolved. They thought the fire would end me, but all it did was burn away what was never truly me. The weakness, the doubt, the borrowed identity, gone. Now, all that's left is this, unshakable, unforgiving, unstoppable. I don't mourn their fall. How could I? They danced on my scars for years, told me to smile while I drowned, told me to be patient while they plundered, told me to be kind while they crushed everything I loved. No more. I will not offer my hand to a world that watched me bleed. I will not play savior to those who buried me alive. I am not your hero. I am not your villain. I am something else entirely. Something born in the wreckage. Something carved from the noise. I am the shadow that walks calmly through the blaze. The voice that doesn't tremble. The hand that doesn't shake. And now that your gods are gone, now that your systems are dust, you finally say what I tried to show you, but it's too late. Too late for mercy, too late for apologies. Too late for pretending you didn't hear me screaming all those years. This isn't vengeance, this isn't wrath, this is rebirth. Because while you ran from the storm, I became it. While you hid from the fire, I learned to dance in it, and now that the world is burning, I finally feel warm. You tried to drown me. You buried me beneath your rules, your shame, your silence. But I didn't die. I changed. I learned how to breathe without permission. I learned how to rise without applause. I learned how to exist without needing to be loved. And now I am love's opposite. Not hate, not cruelty. Something far colder, something far truer. Conviction, and it stands taller than any crown you ever wore. Let the fire rage. Let the smoke swallow the sky. Let the ground split, the towers fall, the cities scream. I will still be here. Watching, breathing, becoming. Because I didn't survive for a world that never saw me. I survived. To build something that never needed their permission. A kingdom born from the ashes. A throne made of everything they tried to destroy in me. I warned them. Now they burn. And I remain. They didn't listen. So now, they'll obey. I remember the silence. Not mine, theirs, that smug, mocking silence they gave me when I screamed truth in a world addicted to lies. They smirked. They turned their backs. They whispered behind closed doors, "He's lost it, he's insane, he's dangerous." They were right about one thing. I was dangerous. But not because I was wrong. Because I was right. And now, everything I said would come to pass has. The sky is cracking. Their precious towers are crumbling. The rules they worshipped, ash. The kings they bowed to, headless. The systems they built to feel powerful, burning from the inside out. I told them, I warned them, it's all rigged, it's all rotting, it won't last. But they didn't want to hear that. Truth is an inconvenient guest at a table full of liars, so they shunned me, tried to erase me, pretended I was never part of their world. But I watched, patiently, while they choked on their own arrogance. I waited, and now they crawl, on broken knees, begging for someone, anyone, to save them. The irony is beautiful. The silence is gone now. Now they scream, and yet I am calm because I knew this day would come. I counted every lie, I mapped every crack, and I built myself in the shadows. They thought I vanished. No, I evolved. I buried the version of me that needed their validation. I murdered the man who once asked for mercy, and in his place, I forged a god. Not a savior, not a saint. Something else, something unforgiving, something eternal. Let it fall, let it burn, let them crawl. I won't lift a finger to stop it, because they did this. They chose this. When they ignored the warning. This is the cost of arrogance. This is the price of pride. You see, the world didn't break me, it revealed me. They tried to frame me as the villain, so I became one, but not their version. Not a monster of impulse. No, I'm the storm they wrote off as a rumor. The reckoning they never believed would come, and now it's here, and I'm not hiding anymore. I'm done whispering warnings into deaf ears. Now I speak with fire. Now I move like fate. They crowned false kings, but I never needed a throne. I became the kingdom. I am not here to fix what they broke. I'm here to replace it. No more apologies. No more playing by rules I didn't write. Their version of justice. Too slow, too soft. Their definition of sanity. Just fear in a lab coat, their idea of good and evil. A lie dressed in gold, and I refuse to kneel for a lie. So go ahead. Call me mad. Call me cruel. But when the world burns, only monsters know how to walk through the flames, and I walk with purpose, I walk with precision. Because this isn't revenge, this is inevitability. I warned you. I begged you to see. But now I don't ask. I command. Now I reign. Let it fall. Let it burn. Let them crawl. Let the cowards choke on their silence. Let the kings rot on their thrones. Let the world feel what it made of me, because I will not rebuild their illusions. I will not resurrect their lies. I will rise on ruins, and I will build something holy from the ashes, not for them. Not for peace, for me, and for every soul that was laughed out of the room. For every voice that was muted, mocked, exiled. For every truth that was buried beneath convenience, I rise for them. I reign for us, and I swear. The next time they hear my name, it won't be a warning. It'll be a command, obey or be erased, let it fall, let it burn, let them crawl. Because I am not the villain, I am the voice they tried to silence. I am the prophecy fulfilled. I am the shadow they thought they could outrun. But you can't outrun truth. and you can't kill a God who built himself from your betrayal. So remember this: when you kneel, you do so not because I asked, but because you finally understand. I never needed your crown. I am the fire, I am the storm, and I warned you. Now, watch me reign. Let it all fall. Let it crack. Let the walls tremble and the heavens shatter. I will not mourn the collapse, because I never came to save their world. I came to end it. They thought this was about revenge. They were wrong. This was never about vengeance. This was about rebirth. I watched them build their kingdoms on lies, on bones, on silence. And when I screamed into the void, they told me to whisper. They taught me to bow, to smile, to wait for my time. But I stopped waiting the moment I realized their world was never meant for someone like me. They built cages and called them homes, built thrones out of masks, fed on fear and sold it as peace. They preached order while rotting inside. And now the rot is everywhere, and I'm still here, breathing, laughing, unshaken. The fire took them, but I was forged in it. They thought the flames would consume me, but they only tempered my soul. Every scream I swallowed, every tear I hid, every time I begged for a place in their world, it was all fuel for this, for now. So let the world bleed. Let it choke on its own arrogance, because from the ashes I rise, not as a savior, not as a symbol, but as a storm, a force, uncompromising, unapologetic, unrelenting. You want a new world? Then watch me build it with my bare hands, not for them, not for their approval, but for the broken, for the abandoned, for the ones they threw away to keep their illusion pure. This kingdom, my kingdom, will be carved from the very stones. They used to bury me. Its pillars will be made of pain, its roof forged from resilience, its light, not from stars, but from the fire I carry inside. And there will be no throne, because I don't sit anymore. I stand, I rise, I rule, not with mercy, but with memory. I remember who doubted, who laughed, who called me mad when I was merely awake, and I won't forgive them, because they didn't just doubt me. They broke me, ripped my voice from my throat, and fed it to their gods of comfort. But I found something in that silence. I found power. I found clarity. I found me, and now I don't need their acceptance. I don't crave their praise. I don't want back in, because I'm not rebuilding their system. I'm tearing it out from the roots, and in its place, a kingdom of flame, a dynasty of shadows, a crown made of scars. You think that makes me a monster? Good, because monsters survive. Monsters adapt. They evolve. They outlast the empires built to destroy them. Let them call me darkness. Let them call me wrath. Let them tremble at my return. It means they remember. And when the sky falls again, and it will, they'll look to the ruins and see me standing, unbroken, unforgiving, unstoppable. Because you didn't silence me, you amplified me. You gave me a reason. You gave me war. You gave me purpose. And now I am purpose. I am what follows the end. I am what survives the fire. I am what builds when all else burns. So let the world bleed. Let it scream. Let it collapse beneath the weight of its lies. And when the smoke clears, you'll see me, standing in the wreckage, smiling, not because I destroyed it, but because I finally proved I never needed it. You broke me to silence me, but all you did was make me louder, and now the whole world hears me, doesn't it?